Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Babbling Irons match preview show. This time, West Ham are taking on Bournemouth in a tricky game. One, we're coming off both teams off a defeat. We lost to Wolves, obviously, in midweek. Bournemouth actually lost to Ipswich at home, which they'll be, kicking themselves about because they have European ambitions of their own, and that's a massive dent in that. And the last few weeks, Bournemouth have just gone off the boil a little bit. I think that defeat to Man City in the FA Cup as well hasn't helped their progress. And yeah, they need to get back on track. West Ham needs to get back on track. So it's going to be quite an interesting game, actually. I'm looking forward to it. But if you enjoyed the breakdown, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. And yeah, let's go into the tale of the tape to start with and look at the stats from both teams so far. So West Ham on 34 points compared to Bournemouth's 44. We've scored 33 goals compared to Bournemouth's 49. We've conceded 50 goals compared to Bournemouth's 38. So a big difference there. And obviously we find ourselves in 16th position and Bournemouth sit mid-table in 10th, having been, a lot higher than that just a few weeks ago. And they've really just regressed a little bit over the last few weeks, and they'll be kicking themselves about that. But when we look at the expected data, they've been fantastic as well. So West Ham pretty much on par with where they should be. So 32.30 expected points. Bournemouth 52.86, so a massive jump up on what they're currently on. Expected goals scored for West Ham 40.86, Bournemouth 61.41, which is the second highest in the Premier League. West Ham 56.29 expected goals conceded compared to Bournemouth's 44.83. And then look at the expected positions of both teams. West Ham 16th, so we're sitting exactly where we should be. However, Bournemouth, they should be challenging for Champions League spots right now, and not just challenging, but comfortably in that top four based on the expected data we're seeing. So why has it gone so wrong for Bournemouth? What has been the issue for them? To be honest, it hasn't been crazy scorelines or anything like that. They haven't been torn apart over the last few weeks. They narrowly missed out against Man City, having played really, really well in that first half against them. Second half, they let themselves down a little bit and became too passive. Against Ipswich, again, it's a game they should be winning, and there's no real excuse for them not winning that game. Like, if they have European ambitions, those are the games that are going to cost you at the end of the season if you don't win them. But they have such a good, talented squad. Obviously, their manager, Ariola, oh, I can't even say his name, but he's doing wonders. He's working absolute wonders at Bournemouth, and they've got a real good, young, hungry, talented squad. And they've signed some really exciting players in the last few years. You look at the likes of Kirkers at left back, who we really wanted on this channel at West Ham after his performances against us for AZ Alkmaar. Alex Scott, I know Mike on the channel as well. He's a massive fan of Alex Scott before he moved from the Championship into that Bournemouth team. And they're just filled with a nice blend of young players. Obviously, the centre-back Huijsen as well coming through, still 18 or 19 years old. So they've got that blend of youth and experience. And I think that they've been able to work that in their favour over the past 6-7 months, really. This whole season, they've been fantastic. But yeah, they find themselves in 10th. West Ham obviously find ourselves in 16th. Our season is very much done, very much dead in the water. But it's still a chance for Graham Potter to integrate more players and impose himself and almost win the fans over before we go into the summer, because there are a few fans becoming a little bit restless with the performances, and understandably so. It's been really frustrating to watch. Defensively, we've improved, but offensively, we've regressed even more so than we were under Lopetegui. So that's something that the fans are highlighting as a concern, and again, rightly so, because it's been so poor to watch from just a fan perspective. Watching it as a spectacle, we've been so poor. Bournemouth are the polar opposite of that. They play really entertaining, free-flowing, attacking football, but they get the balance right. It hasn't worked for them in recent weeks, but there's a reason why their expected points is third in the Premier League, and it's because they've been fantastic this season. And we're going to have a very difficult game on Saturday at London Stadium. But let's take a look at Bournemouth's overview so far. So they have the 8th best defensive record in the Premier League so far this season with 40 goals scored. They have the 2nd best expected offensive record in the Premier League, which I found staggering, with 61.41 expected goals scored, only second to Liverpool right now. They've leapfrogged Arsenal and Chelsea in this list. They have the 7th strongest defensive record in the Premier League as well, with 58 goals conceded. So they're doing pretty well there. They rank 3rd for expected points, so 52.86 expected points, averaging 1.63 goals per game with an XG of 1.93, averaging 1.2 goals conceded per game with an expected goals against of 1.43. And in terms of possession, they're averaging around 48.55% possession in the Premier League so far this season. So they're not a team that's going to massively dominate 90-minute periods of games and have all of the ball. Think back to the reverse fixture when we played Bournemouth. in the first half, I know we drew 1-1 on that day, and we probably should have come away with it with all 3 points with that last minute penalty from Paqueta that got cancelled out by a fantastic free kick. In the first half, we weren't good, but Bournemouth was so passive. They weren't pressing high. They were just letting us build out from possession out of the back. And I think that was a tactic. Second half, they completely switched that up. They were just not allowing us time on the ball. They were pressing us really high up, forcing us backwards, forcing us into mistakes. And they quickly realised that we're not that good. Our players haven't been performing that well, so we don't need to give them time. We can press them and create opportunities. And Bournemouth were much better in the second half against us. So I would expect a more aggressive Bournemouth team to come to the London Stadium in this clash, given the fact that we haven't been great under pressure. And I think it's got better under Potter. I'm definitely seeing signs of improvement, but it's still got a long, long way to go before we consider ourselves a comfortable possession side that can dominate games and control games how we want to. We're miles off that. But overall, I'm cautious of this game, but also slightly optimistic just because of how expansive Bournemouth do play. Obviously, the recent form of Bournemouth doesn't help or encourage their fans either. But from a West Ham perspective, we have to get our season back on track. I know I said at the beginning, it's kind of dead in the water at the moment, but Graham Potter does have a lot of questions still to answer from the West Ham fans. And the longer this goes on, the more increasingly frustrated fans are going to become. And I completely understand that. I'm kind of just in the camp that we're going to give him some time. We're going to give him that resource in the summer to refreshen things, have a preseason, treat this as a mini preseason now from this point until the end of the season, and then reassess and go there. But for me, Graham Potter does have questions to answer. Even for myself, I'm not going to judge him based on this season, but it doesn't mean we can't see signs of improvement on the pitch. And we have defensively, but going the other way, we've regressed and we're becoming one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in the Premier League for creating goal scoring opportunities, which is a massive problem. Obviously, you want to build from the foundations, from the back, but you have to have that balance going forwards. And I think we're still trying to find that. And I'm hoping that Graham Potter's going to be a bit more aggressive in how he plays. It's interesting to see how he lines up against Bournemouth. We've got our predicted lineups coming shortly, but it's very difficult to predict how Graham Potter's going to line up because he's trying to test so many things. And because we've got players coming back into the squad, we've got some youth players that he's trying to integrate like Ollie Scholes. So it is difficult. No one would have expected that lineup against Wolves. I don't think many fans were happy with the lineup against Wolves, nonetheless. But when we look at how the two teams play, West Ham are very much in this back three under Graham Potter, trying to control games, trying to be patient. Under Lopetegui, we weren't patient. We were completely erratic, and it was the complete contrast from what we're seeing with Graham Potter. So it's almost like we've gone from this erratic, crazy football that we've been seeing under Lopetegui, which wasn't reaping rewards and we were losing those games, to all of a sudden becoming defensively better and more stable, but still losing and drawing games the majority of the time because of our offensive output and because that's regressed and we're not creating enough opportunities and causing teams problems, which we need to get right. And we need to find that balance. So when we look at the absentees list, there isn't that many for West Ham anymore. Only Somerville and Antonio are likely to be out for this game. It's expected that both Todibo and Kudus will be back for this game after they missed that Wolves clash. And then Bournemouth, they do have a few injuries. Unal, Tavernier, Araujo and Sinistera. They also had Cliver missed a game against Ipswich in midweek due to fatigue and just being overloaded was what the response was from Bournemouth's manager. But you'd expect him to be back in and amongst it. But Bournemouth have some fantastic talent. And we look at the predicted lineups here just to get an overview of how both teams could potentially line up in this one. I don't know if Graham Potter's going to go into a back three or back four. I think it will be a back three based on the fact that he's played a back three in pretty much every game this season bar one to start with. I know he switched to a back four against Wolves, but I think that was circumstantial. And I don't think we'll match Bournemouth's back four 4-2-3-1 formation because I think personnel and the way they would apply it would be better than West Ham's right now. So I don't think we'd get much success there. But when we look at West Ham's team to start with, Kilman, Mavropanos, Todibo as a back three, Areola in goal. I think Ward-Prowse should be dropped in that midfield now. I think his performance against Wolves was really, really poor. I'd like to keep Paqueta still in the team, and Souček deserves to come back in. I'd bring Emerson back in for Scholes as well. I just think he's a level above Scholes right now. And yes, Scholes has shown some promising signs, but we don't want to rush him. We don't want to create this, over dependency on him right now for this stage of his career. And I think Emerson deserves to play. Wan-Bissaka right wing back. And then I want us to stick with that focal point up top, whether that's Ferguson, whether that's Fulcrook. I think Ferguson deserves to start this game, despite Fulcrook's really impressive performance in the second half. I don't want to rush Fulcrook back. I want Ferguson to have that opportunity again to start and lead the line in a more attacking setup with Kudus and Bowen either side of him. That's what I want to see in this game. Whether we will see that, I don't know. And then we look at Bournemouth's lineup there. So we've got Kepa in goal, Smith, Zabarnyi, Huijsen, Kirkez as the back four. Likely to be Christie and Adams. I know Christie came off injured against Ipswich, so it may be that someone else comes in for him in the midfield. Then a front four of Semenyo, Cliver, Brooks, and Evan Nilsson up top. So plenty of danger. Obviously, Semenyo's the big one for Bournemouth. Such a fantastic, talented winger. Causes all sorts of problems. He's strong, he's direct, he's technically very good, and he has an eye for goal, especially this season. He's been fantastic for Bournemouth. So that's something we need to be very cautious of. Bournemouth's left-hand side, if it is going to be Semenyo and Kirkez, it is a fantastic left-hand side for any Premier League team. And it's no doubt that Bournemouth has had success so far this season with those two in that starting 11, and they've been performing to the standard that they have been. And, Kirkez is attracting interest from the likes of Liverpool. Semenyo is getting interest from the likes of Arsenal, and it's definitely valid as well. So how I would approach this if I was Graham Potter, I think I would play a back three. Again, given the fact that I wouldn't match Bournemouth's four right now, given the state of our team and the way we're playing. I do like the back three, but it needs to be deployed correctly. At the moment, I don't think it is. I think the balance is off. As I mentioned, I don't think we're creating enough. We're not direct enough with how we want to play, especially against Wolves. It was too passive. We need to be more aggressive in this back three, and that's how we're going to cause Bournemouth issues. And we can't just sit off against Bournemouth at home. We need to take the game to them at times and be aggressive in our press at times and show them that we're not going to just turn over and allow them to have all of the ball and control the game and pick us apart where they need to, because they have talented technical players that can do that. So we need to impose ourselves on the game. In terms of a prediction, it's really difficult to predict because Bournemouth have wobbled a little bit in the last few weeks. They haven't been winning games. West Ham, more than a wobble this season, but you'd still back us to get something at home in pretty much any game, bar like the top six, where you'd maybe predict an away win. But yeah, Bournemouth have been really good, but I'm going to stay optimistic. I think it will be a draw. I know we beat Bournemouth in the cup as well, in the very start of the season under Lopetegui when we won 2-1. We drew 1-1 in the away game. We've actually got a decent record against Bournemouth in recent seasons. I'm going to go with a draw. I think it will be 2-2. I know that's quite high scoring for the current Graham Potter team that we're seeing. But yeah, I think we'll get a 2-2 draw. We may even nick it. It's more likely that Bournemouth will win, to be honest. I'm trying to be a bit more hopeful. But yeah, I think a 2-2 draw is probably going to be the outcome of this game, given the balance of two teams. And yeah, I'm hoping we get to see Kudus back in there, playing with Bowen and Kudus playing either side of Ferguson or Fulcrook up top, Paqueta playing alongside Souček in midfield, and Todibo coming into that back three. But let me know what your thoughts are down below in the comments of this video. What would you line up with, number one? And number two, what is your score prediction for this game against Bournemouth? Not an easy game. Obviously, Bournemouth have those ambitions to get into Europe, and they're still within touching distance of doing that. So this would be a huge 3 points for them. For West Ham, we're not really playing for anything. But as I mentioned, Graham Potter is playing for the respect of the West Ham fan base right now and buying into the process, as he's alluded to many times. But yeah, let me know down below in the comments your thoughts. Leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel for more content coming forwards. And until next time, come on, you irons.